Ready to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to the second session of our conference today, the African Family Life Conference, where the family is under siege and we're recovering and reclaiming from the onslaught of the pandemic. We're so excited and elated and honored to have you all here today. Thank you all for joining us. And for all those who are coming on, we're here and ready for you. Before I go into the second session, though, I want to touch on a few points from this morning's session. We had some phenomenal speakers this morning. We call her Mommy Mo, so I'll call her Mommy Mo. And a few touch points for me from what she said today was that life is no longer the same, and we must be intentional and take care of ourselves. That's one of the things that I learned from her today. Another thing she also said that caught my fancy is that if you don't plant one tree, you cannot have a forest. And the last thing she also said was that take action. Don't just come to conferences like this and listen and smile and woo-ha and then go home and then forget it. I mean, it's almost like ignorance because you did nothing with the information. And so if you don't do anything with the information, then you really shouldn't even have bothered spending 4 hours with us. So make sure that you scribble things down, because as they say, the shortest pencil or the longest memory is longer than the shortest pencil. So please write things down, use them, put them to work, show people, teach people, because as you teach people also, it gets better and better. You can refine it and it becomes better for you. The other panelists also, we had 4 fantastic panelists, and I picked a few things as well from them. And Benga said the workplace is not a love lounge. I think I'm going to write that on a sheet of paper and put it in my office on Monday. It's not a love lounge. Dimma said we should go back home and create love connections, rituals, and routines. She also said the way to experience the future is to create it. And what better, is there anything better than creating a future for yourself? Some people may think it doesn't make any sense, but trust me, it always works. Create it, and what then happens is that you start to experience it, you start to live it. It may sound spooky, but it's definitely not, because you're attracting what you want and you're working from the front backwards. Aima talked about collaborations, Black people to collaborate, especially people who find themselves abroad. And she also mentioned that if you leave, who's going to stay back? If we all leave Nigeria or Africa, who's going to stay back and create a good Africa that we can come back to? So she suggests, and she was reiterating the need for collaborations. And Boku also talked about taking advantage of technology and taking advantage of the positivity that came out of COVID, which really strengthened the health sector. That would take forever to get certain things. Now you can see your GP online. You don't have to go to the physical office to see your GP. So, enough said from the first season. Fantastic, phenomenal, wonderful session that we had in the beginning. We have a second session now, and we're just going to dive right into it. My name is Adiola Kingsley James, and I hope that I can carry you on these journeys and we end safely at the end of this session. Have fun. Don't forget, write things down that you hear. Make sure you write the things down that you hear and implement them. Start with one thing. Don't overwhelm yourself as well by doing, I'm going to implement 10. No, start with one. Build up on that. Live it. Become it. Then pick the next one up. That's my advice for you. So we're going to play a documentary right now, and I'm sure that the documentary is ready to play. Let's play the documentary, and then I'll come back and tell you what we're going to be doing next. But it's a power-packed session. We have panelists. We have a keynote speaker who is already ready to dazzle us and drop diamonds and nuggets that we can use for the rest of our lives. And don't go away as well. We have a panel, another powerful set of speakers on the panel who are also going to teach us a few more things to help with the pandemic and how to get healed from the pandemic. Yes. So let's play the documentary and we're good to go.
The ratio of medical doctors to patients in Nigeria is 4 to 10,000. But what is the ratio of family life professionals to families across Africa when many of the health issues people have are family crisis induced? The Institute of Family Engineering and Development is the premier institution for grooming the most effective family life professionals across the continent of Africa. In 4 years, we have trained 1,200 family life professionals who now practice across Africa, North America, and the United Kingdom. Our certification programs enables you accurately diagnose complex family life cases within 15 minutes using data-driven templates and create interventions that combine coaching plus therapy and strategy to assist your clients. For the best certification programs on family life, parenting, and effective children church system, kindly contact us at ekabo@ifedacademy.com or call 0706 809 9845. The Institute of Family Engineering and Development, grooming the most effective family life professional humanity deserves.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So let me introduce our guest speaker. Her name is Patricia Omorpuy. She is a senior executive coach, a leadership development trainer, and a positive psychology consultant with over 20 years experience where she's worked with leaders up to the C-suite. Patricia is the author of Clarify Your Purpose and Live It. She's also an award-winning mediator and a galvanizing speaker. Her purpose is to activate the full potential of individuals and groups so they can thrive. Patricia is a certified Bounce Back Better resilience trainer with tremendous expertise in training and coaching leaders so they become more engaged, productive, and satisfied as they create business results. As an executive and a life transformation coach, she creates a safe haven and a non-judgmental space that makes it feel easy for individuals to walk the path of personal breakthroughs. I present Patricia Omorpuy. Patricia, are you ready for us?
Can you see me? Hello.
Yes, hello. How
so
are
nice
you today?
So great to be here. I am doing very well and have been enjoying a little bit of the presentations that you had this morning. I got to peek in and see the magnificent things going on here today. So thank you for this opportunity.
You're very welcome. And so we're waiting. I've got my notebook here, waiting to get all the nuggets and diamonds you're ready to drop. Take it away, sis.
Thank you so much. So first of all, just a huge thank you to my dear brother Praise for this amazing opportunity to be able to share with all of you from a very deep, raw, real place today. Those of you who have heard me speak before know that I like to lead with vulnerability and authenticity. But first, thank you to Praise for all he's created, for all the remarkable family life professionals that are out there doing this really vital work of supporting individuals and families to help transform the home, but also help transform our societies. So I am delighted. I hope that you have your pen and your paper ready, or that you're going to take some keynotes. You know, as a executive coach and life transformation person in the field, what I like to see is actual insights turned into action. So my call to you today is to find that one or maybe two key insights that you're going to walk away with from our time together, and then you're going to turn into next steps to apply and to live out. That's where transformation happens. So I'm going to share with you today some very hard-earned personal insights from the journey that I have walked, in hopes that as I share these things, that you're going to find some things that are going to really help you as we continue to navigate COVID-19 and whatever it is that's going to be this new normal that emerges here in the future. So I want to start. Praise asked me to share on a very important topic, and I found it interesting the way he put it to me. He asked me to share on creating heaven and wholeness post-pandemic. And many of you might have heard the saying by John Milton. He said, the mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. And one thing that I have learned in my own journey of transformation, as I began to really study my own mind, is that I was often, and sometimes still do, creating my own inner hell. And what if we have an opportunity, if we want to create a world that feels more like heaven and a world that is whole, to first start within ourselves and begin to transform on a whole different level. We each have an opportunity, a massive one. And I feel like COVID-19, for me anyway, the way that I have viewed it is a huge curriculum, like a course that humanity has been offered in human transformation. And I'm going to walk you today through some of the insights that I have around that. I'm also going to share a personal story about how before COVID was COVID, I felt like a prisoner in my own living room. And then I'm going to close with a simple personal mastery formula that I came across through my work in positive psychology and that I use regularly in working with individuals and groups to help them move more greatly into their human potential. So let me first start by talking about COVID-19 as an accelerator of change. You know, many of us are so used to just going through the buzz of life, right? We're just moving. And then when COVID came and everything that we knew was put on hold, it became very uncomfortable for many of us. And many of us, we felt stuck, we felt trapped, we felt unable to move, unable to be able to go see the people we wanted to see, go work in the places that we wanted to work. And I watched as I experienced it, as my family experienced it, and as all the people that I worked with experienced it, feel very, very uncomfortable. And so what I knew from my own journey is that because I had my life put on hold back in 2012, I had a circumstance in my own home. We have a daughter, my oldest, who has special needs and a rare disease. Her name is Maggie. Some of you might have heard a little bit about her story. But in 2012, she was in middle school. And the dynamics of what was going on with her circumstances and her disease became something where I literally had to become an on-call person to deal with the difficulties that she was having in her school environment, in the community, with her health. And so what happened was life stopped me. I had been traveling regularly, often to Nigeria, to other parts of the world to do my work. Many of you might know I was a professional basketball player, so I'm a global citizen, and I was moving all about the world doing the work that I wanted to do. And then life made me stop. And I can tell you that I didn't like being stopped. None of us have liked being stopped by this circumstance of COVID. But I know in retrospect, from having walked through this 2012 to till when the pandemic started period, where I was stopped by life and I was forced, well, I wasn't forced. I chose to look at my circumstances as a curriculum and to look at what was going on inside of me that was causing me to suffer so greatly. And what I began to see was that, yes, I had really difficult circumstances. Life was not the way that I wanted it to be. I was dealing with very difficult things in my home environment. And yet, what I realized is that on top of the circumstances, I was creating some hell in my mind. And so what happens with most of us when things don't go the way that we want them to, when we have circumstances come, we start to create stories in our mind that cause inner hell. We begin to judge ourselves, right? Something is wrong with me. What's going to happen if I don't get to keep moving and doing the things that I'm gonna need to do and prove in the world? What if I'm perceived in the wrong way? You know, maybe I did something wrong to cause this, or maybe I'm not going to have what it takes to be able to move through difficult circumstances. Many of us have this really intense inner bully kind of voice that torments us. And I can tell you that over the years of working on cleaning up my own mind, I discovered so many ways that I was creating an inner hell for myself. And so as I sat as what originally I felt was like being a prisoner in my living room, I began to study the patterns inside myself. I began to look within because I got tired of suffering. I didn't want to feel bad within my circumstances. I wanted to feel better. And I saw that there were many things outside of my circumstances that I couldn't be in control of. But I saw that I had the sovereignty to begin to clean up the inner world that was in my power. And that's what I began to do. And so when we look at the way that we judge life, that we judge ourselves, that something is wrong with us, we create an inner hell. And when we get trapped in fear, what if I never reach my potential? What if things don't go as planned? What if I lose everything, right? Some of these are the fears that come up for us as we've been navigating this pandemic and dealing with just tremendously difficult circumstances. But when our minds go into this incessant fear, we create an inner hell for ourselves. And nobody can change that except us ourselves. We have such a big opportunity. And so as I sat in my living room, dealing with the dynamics of my home environment, dealing with the struggles, I saw all the fears that were running through my own mind. And I began to categorically, literally inventory them and write them down and study what were these inner dynamics that were causing me to feel unsettled, to feel depressed about my circumstance, to feel this struggle with life. And what I saw was that when life gives us struggles and we take it as coursework, and then we do the inner work, then we can begin to become unstoppable within what appears to be very limited and difficult circumstances. And so as I journeyed through that time, I literally continued the journey of transforming my thinking. And I came to a point where I realized it was such an opportunity, because when life stops us, there's a reason for it. And so many of us miss out on the grand opportunities of the coursework that we're being given because we don't want that coursework. And so we avoid it or we struggle with it. But when we stop struggling with the coursework and we open to it and we embrace it and we begin to ask new questions, what is this here to teach me? Since this is happening, how is it here to help me grow to my next level? And so as I've worked with people through this COVID-19 pandemic, I have seen people go into very deep mental despair and darkness. I have seen people draining their energy, beating themselves up, feeling so afraid for their futures. And I've worked with them to be able to shift the inner thinking that's causing them distress so that they can shift into a sense of peace and a sense of possibility and a sense of hope and purpose and potential and empowerment. And that is the opportunity all of us have as we continue to navigate these uncertain times. Because what is certain is that we each have the power to do the inner work needed to liberate ourselves. And why bother? Why bother is because I don't know about you, but I don't like feeling an inner hell. What I want to create is an inner heaven. Because if I create a heaven within myself, then I have something great to offer to my family, and then to offer to the community and to the world around us. And that is the power that each one of us has, is to do the inner work. So when you are triggered, when things are being stirred up in this difficult time period for you, look within, study your inner dynamics, study the thinking, study the questions that you're asking, because it's the questions that you ask that are going to lead you to certain answers. If you're focused on what is wrong with me, what is wrong with the situation, what is wrong with the people around me, what is wrong with the world, you are certain to find that. But if you begin to ask more powerful questions, what is right with me? What are my opportunities in these limited circumstances? What are the opportunities to create the new? What are my opportunities to heal myself? What are my opportunities, since this terrible situation is happening, to begin to open to the tremendous opportunity to learn about who I am and who I can become in the world around me? And so as I looked within, what I noticed was it wasn't just the inner thinking that was causing me deep distress. There were still a lot of lingering personal traumas from when I grew up that were actually the deeper layer of healing that I was being asked to work on while my life was seemingly on pause. And so I sat day by day, consistently. You know, many of you know I was a professional athlete, and every day I would go work out for basketball. And through the daily repetition is how you become unstoppable in the games for basketball. And the same thing applies with us. When we're sitting with ourselves, still maybe not being able to move to the extent that we want to move in the world, or being able to access the opportunities that we want to access, when you look within and when you begin to do this daily inner work of healing yourself day by day, moment by moment, what you begin to find is that consistent practice of doing the inner work to create your inner wholeness and your inner heaven begins to pay off. And I can tell you, it's not easy work, is it? In fact, most of us want to avoid this work. We would rather be busy doing the outer work, right? It's easier to go and speak to an audience, or it's easier to go and do something in the workplace than to sit with ourselves and heal within. And yet what I've found is that the most valuable work, the work that brings the greatest amount of outer transformation, is that which we do to heal ourselves within. And so every day I would wake up and I would sit and I would ask the question, what is it that I'm ready to heal today? What is it that I'm being shown in the circumstance that I can focus on and work on so that I can become better, so that I can become more of the me that God has created me to be? And in those times of silence and quiet and asking these powerful questions, what always began to emerge is that the universe shows us the next situation from our past or from our present that we can work on to begin to unlock our potential. One thought, one memory, one challenge at a time. And that is the power of doing the inner work. And so when we think about ourselves in this pandemic situation, you know, many of us were stuck with our families, you know, maybe more than we've ever had to be in our home environment. And many of us have been triggered more by the unhealed dynamics that exist in our home than we would have imagined that we would be. But every time we're triggered, it's an opportunity to look within and to ask ourselves the question, what is the pain or what is the button that has been pushed within myself? And when we stop thinking that it's always about the other person, or that the other person is causing this for us, and we look within and we look at each of the people that we're interacting with in our home, in our community, in our environment as our learning partners, and then we turn within and we heal to the next level, then we are empowered. We find peace. We find opportunities to unwind what remains within us that causes us distress or depression or exhaustion because of the struggle that we're having with our circumstance. And so as we navigate these pandemic challenges and we move into this new opportunity to create inner peace, to create inner heaven, we then have the opportunity to begin to vision something new for the world around us. And not only that, we become the embodiment of the something new as we are walking our day to day. And so one thing that I learned about myself is that based on the way I was growing up, I had a pretty challenging father, and I had lived in a circumstance where if I asked for something or if I brought up my needs, I was immediately shut down. And so I learned as a child to just take on everything myself. I became one of the most responsible human beings because I couldn't rely on the people around me to meet my needs. I had to figure out a way to meet my own needs. And the reason that I bring that up is when I was navigating that time period where I was stuck in my living room for so long, dealing with family dynamics, I realized that all the time I was serving everybody. I was taking on responsibility to the extent that I was never prioritizing myself. I was always the person that I thought of taking care of last. And as I saw sometimes how exhausted I would become by overserving, by overhelping, by overdoing it, I started to dissect, where did these patterns come from? And isn't there a better way? Many of us in our families, we are working so hard to please the people around us. And that's not a bad thing. But when it's overdone to the extent that we're not caring for ourselves, living in burnout or complete exhaustion or always drained does not allow us to show up and be our best in the world. And one thing I began to learn was that as I started to pay attention more to my own needs, I began to see that I had the opportunity to empower myself to also ensure that my own well-being was intact. Because life does not feel enjoyable or fun or like heaven in any way when we're constantly worn down and exhausted. And so I want to share with each of you a very simple but powerful personal mastery formula that I have used with myself and offered to many clients over the years. And there are 4 aspects of the personal mastery formula that I want you to pay attention to. And the first is what I shared with you just a moment ago, that we begin to pay attention with awareness. We grow our self-awareness of what signals is our mind, body, and spirit giving us. Because those signals show us the needs that we actually have that we can begin to prioritize and take care of. What are we feeling emotionally? What are we needing? What attention, what time, what ways of caring for ourselves are we needing that we are avoiding or that we're just not taking the time for? And so the first part of being a personal master or master of yourself is to pay attention to what is going on with you. And many of us are so busy, we want to stay in constant motion, but taking the time to check in with yourself on a daily basis to understand what you need is essential if you're going to master yourself. Now, the challenge is many people do know, I need something. I need more rest. I need more connection. I need to find a way forward financially, right? We're aware of our needs, but then what happens is we get stopped. We don't move to the next step of the personal mastery formula. The next step of the personal mastery formula is self-compassion. But most of us instead meet ourselves with self-judgment. You shouldn't need anything. Who do you think you are to think that you are a priority? That voice inside us, that inner critic or inner bully that comes with the self-judgment, usually stops us. Even if we know what we need, we don't go any further with it. But when we take our self-awareness and we meet it with self-compassion, then we notice it's okay to need the things that we need. And it's okay to honor ourselves, to listen to ourselves like we would listen to our own best friend, to become our own best friend compassionately. But it can't just stop with self-compassion, because the third step of the personal mastery formula is self-care. And I'm not just talking about self-care in go to the spa, do something fancy for yourself, get a manicure. That's not what I'm talking about. Caring for ourselves can come in many, many different forms. It can be about changing your job situation because you know you need a different situation for navigating your future. It can mean starting to let people know around you what it is that you truly need, and to be able to start to ask for the things that are needed, to express the needs that you have, or to just start taking action to do what you need to do to actually care for yourself so that you're well. And that could be simple things. That could be journaling. That could be taking some downtime on occasion where you prioritize your own needs. Now, the third part of this personal mastery formula is one that I find most people struggle with. I work with many people who they're aware, they're even being kind to themselves, and maybe they're doing some steps of self-care, but there are many things that they need to now self-advocate for. They need to be able to find and connect to their inner voice, to verbalize their needs, to let the people know around them what's really going on with them, and to reach out and ask for help, or express what they're feeling, or have the courageous conversation, whether it's in their home or their work environment or with something that's going on in their life. But to be able to finally give voice to what's going on in their inner world and how they want to move forward. And so the beauty in all of this is that as we pay attention to this life curriculum that we are being offered, as we begin to study our inner dynamics, to understand what's causing our inner suffering, as we begin to do the work of inner transformation, shifting our thinking, healing our past pains, and then as we begin to embrace the coursework of life and look at life as this gift that each challenge is here to help us as an accelerator of our human potential, we begin to create a greater sense of inner heaven, a greater sense of empowerment, and then we step forward more and more to take action and be the change and create the potential in ourselves, and in doing so, be an example in our home environment, an example in our community of the power each one of us has to transform ourselves so that we can transform our families, and then we can transform our communities. And the work of our own inner healing and creating our inner wholeness creates a ripple effect of change, because people begin to see the difference in us. And for me, as I navigated that pre-COVID time period where I felt so stuck, but then I came to peace with my circumstance and I began to see the lessons in it, and I began to accept the circumstance, and then I began to be empowered, and I began to connect to my sense of purpose, so many beautiful things began to happen. And we can always see in retrospect that the circumstances that came our way to teach us the lessons that we needed for each phase were the ones that were preparing us for the future, for being the best possible self that we could be to help lead humanity forward. And so I leave you with encouragement today to embrace the remainder of this COVID time period, to embrace the possibility to create a heaven around us, to create wholeness around us, because each of us are vital to creating that change. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with each of you. I pray that you have found some insights, found some little nuggets that will help you on your journey of creating more of an inner heaven and more inner wholeness for yourself, and then sharing it with the people that you encounter on a daily basis. I know the work is challenging, but it is worth the effort, and the payoffs of doing this inner work will astound you as you continue to move forward on your journey. Thank you so much for this time. I cannot hear you. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Notes?
Oh, you were taking notes.
I was taking notes, I told you. Because I'm also a firm believer of taking action. So I would like to ask you now, I picked so many things, and I mean, if we really wanted to dissect it, we'll probably be here till tomorrow. Mm-hmm. However, I'm going to say a few things. I completely could connect to some of the things that you've said, because, you know, I'm also on this inner work journey as well in my life, and I've seen so many things happen and manifest, and if anybody had said this to me a year ago, I would have thought it would never happen. But today, I'm like, you know, I'm doing things that I never expected that I could ever do. Now, how important is it to take action, Patricia?
Yes, action is essential, right? So we need to take the awarenesses that we have and be able to turn them into the daily next baby steps to take, right? So yes, we sit with ourselves. And so let's think about some of the actions I was talking about. There is an action of sitting with yourself on a daily basis and starting with cultivating this awareness. There is an action of, from that, then saying, based on what I know, what do I need to do next to create the reality that I desire to experience? Sometimes that means the action is inner work. Sometimes that means the action is going out and doing that next thing that you know that you're called to do. But I think that the inner work and the outer work are connected. And the reason I say that is it's typically the inner barriers, for whatever reason, that are hindering us from taking the outer action. But the opportunity is that every day, if we just take our next baby steps of action, I call it the 1% rule, right? If you just do a little bit, 1% better a day over the course of a year means that you're going to be 37% better at the end of the year. And so that is where the power happens, right? Is like we can become gurus of knowing all these things. But if we don't turn it into real action and create in the world, it's only going to get us so far. So I think of it almost like an infinity symbol, where it's awareness on one side and action on the other side, right? So if you think of awareness and action, like if you have too much awareness and just a little bit of action, it's out of balance. But if you have too much action and not enough time for awareness, it's out of balance. So the opportunity is to find that vital flow between awareness and action.
So guys, awareness and action, finding harmony between both of them and making sure that they both work together almost at the same time. And, you know, the other question I was going to ask you was talking about, you mentioned daily repetition and the importance of it. Now, I know that when I started journaling about a year ago, it started off as it started off tough, because I now have to wake up early. I now have to sit down. I now have to think about what to be grateful for. I now have to write, start my day, end my day. Now it's second nature. I'm not even sure I can go into my day without writing. Why is daily repetition that important?
That's a fantastic question. And it is a struggle at first, isn't it? What typically happens is that it feels uncomfortable and then we stop. Whereas what you just described is that by showing up over and over and over again, you're conditioning yourself in a new way. And don't you get to a point then where you look forward to it? Right? So for me, I can talk about, when I a long time ago, when my daughter Maggie was born in 2002, I knew that I needed to start to meditate. And so I just was like, okay, I'm going to do 1 minute a day. right? And so I would do 1 minute a day, and I mastered that. And then I moved to 2 minutes a day and 3 minutes a day. And I kind of dreaded it and like had to force myself to show up at first. But then by building up gradually over time, I now sit usually 60 to 90 minutes a day in meditation, and I cannot wait for it. I am invigorated by it. Okay. And, but to your point, you know, it's like going to a gym, like it's painful to lift the weights or do the workout at first, right? Because your body isn't used to it. Your mind, your spirit, everything is like, no, stick with the status quo. But when we just do the little bit to build these inner practices, these daily repetitions every day, eventually we become masters of them, right? But the key is to stay with it long enough that you're able to do that. I find that people need more repetition than they understand, which is why I encourage people to set up daily practices that they're going to do without fail. And the reason is that it almost has to be something where you no longer think about it, right? You just create these practices where you show up, you do a little bit of work. And I'll talk about one other thing. So for me also, because my biggest thing that I work with people on is transforming their thinking. And a lot of people give up too soon. They see that this negative thinking or this fear-based thinking is what gets in their way. They might even create some of the new thinking, but it's the repetition of the new thinking over and over and over and over again that's literally changing their brain. And if you stick with it, you can build the new superhighway in your brain over time if you stick with the inner practices. And then from that daily practice, you know, the cool thing about it is you're ready for game time. So you're practicing in advance in your home life and in your private life, what you're going to be ready to go out and demonstrate in your professional life or in the world around you. So I can't say enough about, you know, simple daily practices lead up to magnificent results. And it takes resolve, it takes commitment. You know, when I was a professional basketball player, there were days you don't feel like it. You don't want to do it. But you still have to get up, and if you just show up and you get started, then good things happen. And then what happens is what I like to call the inner six pack gets developed, right? And it's that repetition that leads to the big muscles. And for me, what we need more of in the world are the unstoppable change agents who are committed, you know, starting small and building up to become unstoppable forces for change. And that's what I try to foster in those that I work with, because I know what it's done for me.
Two more questions and I'll let you go. So the first one is talking about fears. Since you're vulnerable, I'll be vulnerable as well. This morning actually, yesterday I'd manifested something that I'd been wanting to, and I was really excited about it. And I was sharing this with a friend of mine, and in the midst of enjoying it, I then started to have this belief that who am I really to be enjoying all these things, right? Why me? You know, what have why have I achieved this much, you know, in a short period of time? And why are things happening to me so effortlessly? I speak it and I see it. Why is the distance now smaller? And so and my friend, you know, he knows himself, he's listening to us, said to me that I'm a book and I'm leaving the pages every day. And so I said to him, I need to soak this in. So it hadn't really gotten deep down. So this morning I took out my journal and I wrote out my fears. And my fears were, who do you think you are? And I responded to my fears saying, I am this, and I deserve all that I've written down because I've worked hard for it. And so I deserve who I am. And I wrote out few points that I'd been battling with, and I burnt it. I went into the bathroom and I burnt it. And I said, now these fears no longer exist. I've reminded myself of who I am. Why is that? Why is it so important to keep reminding ourselves? Because successful people are not, they are afraid. However, they're doing it scared. Why do we allow fear stop us? Why are we conditioned that way? And how do we overcome it?
So why do we allow it to stop us? Well, because that's what's been modeled for us by the majority of humans around us, right? We're conditioned in fear. And some of us don't even realize it. But the beauty that I just heard in your story is that once we become aware of it, there's this inner process that you just described that is incredible. And it's one that we have to use at the beginning and then in every phase, every chapter, every level of our journey. And so what I heard you say is you became aware of it, right? So first is to pay attention and observe, wait, what is this thinking that's going on? You wrote it down, right? What is that inner bully voice? I like to call it the inner bully because we've been taught to allow the inner bully in our head to just run the show. And when the inner bully gets in charge, we play small. We want to shrink, right? We want to hide. We don't step up. But what happens is when we can identify, maybe even name that voice, I call mine terrorizing Trish, because that voice, there are still times when it speaks loud and it wants to tell me, no, don't go forward, right? You can't do it. But when we identify and name the inner bully, we know its key messages. Then, just knowing that it's going on takes a little bit of power away from it. But then the second piece of it is to what you just described was you have to foster the voice of this inner best friend voice, right? The reassurance, the affirmation, the encouragement, that kind of thinking also needs to be written down, the new thinking. And then we have to practice the new thinking. Why? Because this voice of the inner bully, because it's been left unattended for 20, 30, some of us aren't even starting this work until we're 40, right? Then that's the voice that rules the mind. And so what does it take to reclaim the mind? It takes the ability to grow your other inner voice, the powerful, positive inner voice with so many more muscles, as many muscles or more muscles than the muscles of the inner bully, so that when that inner bully starts, you speak back to it. You tell it, no, I know who I am. This new voice steps in. I know who I am. I know I'm going to continue to grow no matter what. We're always on our cutting edge of growth, and that's why it's uncomfortable to have success come our way, because we're like astounded by our superpowers, right? And so the more we step into those superpowers and the more that we affirm ourselves and we trust the process of moving into our greatness, right? But to know that that's the inner process, and then the repetition of this powerful, positive inner voice. I practice mine every single day, and I've done it for 20 years. And that is the voice that I live by 99% of the time. But I'll tell you, just like you said, I've been moving into new realms of success. And there's been this part of me like feeling the panic and the fear, like, can I really step into this, right? And that's normal, right? It's normal to have these questions, but then to just recognize, that's just my thinking. That's just my inner bully. It's not a big deal. Do the daily work of journaling about it, and then go to a friend, have the conversation that you need to have. I go to my brother Praise sometimes, or whomever, right? My other friends and people in my network, just like talk about it, and then realize like, okay, we got this, just got to show up and do this day well. And then the next day will come. And of course, I'm going to grow to new levels. And of course, my friend, I am glad you're growing to new levels. Like, let's go there, right? We need more, more of us to go there and grow there and be able to demonstrate the superpower of manifestation in the world. That is so vital. So thank you for playing big.
Thank you. Thank you. And my last question. Now, we believe that moving around or movement means progress, right? We're not trained to stay still. And so you'll see people who are just busy, sometimes busy doing nothing, right? But we're trained to just stay busy. How important is it to stay still? I have this thing that I say, prayer is when you speak, but when you staying still, you receive. Because at that time you're quiet, your heart is quiet, your mind is quiet. How do this opportunity to teach people how to be still and create peace within them, where the hell without them doesn't affect the peace within them?
Yes, I love your question. Thank you for asking it. Because I actually think that this is one of the biggest missing elements on the planet right now. So people stay in constant motion most of the time because they are afraid, and fear creates a sense of hypervigilance where I used to do this, right? So before I started my inner work, I was in nonstop action, and I felt like something was wrong with me if I wasn't doing something. I had to be going, going, going. It's become an addiction. There's an addiction of doing that's a pandemic on this planet, if you ask me. And so what I learned is that, and I didn't even understand it, but when I was guided to start sitting in silence, right, a little bit each day, I found that there was some new energy that I was able to create and foster within myself. And to your point, often we think it's just our busy, logical mind that's going to give us the answer, or that by being in action, it's going to all work out. What I have found is actually sometimes the opposite is actually true. It's the stepping back and the calming of oneself and the breathing into the silence and the letting go of the thinking mind. And when I don't know an answer, I usually don't even try to figure it out in my mind anymore. I've learned that by going into the silence, it's almost like what happens is it's like shifting a dial. So usually our dial is set on busy thinking mind, which creates franticness for most of us. And what we do is if we shift the dial through sitting in silence, there's something I believe that I call the divine receptivity channel that is broadcasting 24/7, 365, but nobody's paying attention to it. If more humans sat in silence and learned to calm themselves down, the amount of divine insight and inspiration and that guided next step then shows up so that it is purposeful action put into, your next steps. But it doesn't have to be frantic action anymore. And so by fostering the peace within, we gain clarity. We start to see ourselves in new ways. We start to see opportunities when we can calm the mind and scan our environment. We stop being limited. It's almost by the filters of the mind. And when we let go of them, then this vast amount of perception comes about. But I'll tell you, not many people want to sit their butt on the sofa and do the work of learning to calm the mind. But from my perspective, with what I've experienced in my own life, that has been the most revolutionary practice that I have, because I am given the next revelation. I am given the next step. I am shown the next chapter of my life. I am shown what I need to heal that's holding me back. And it is by sitting in the silence that we foster the peace that passes understanding, so that whether we're in a pandemic or whether that next crazy set of circumstances come, we maintain a supernatural ability to be peaceful. And then we receive the next guided answers, and then we take action on the guided answers to turn these insights, these revelations, into creation. And if more of us, if all the people who were watching this broadcast today just did 1% more of silence on a regular basis over the next 6 months to a year, I am telling you something. Revolutionary possibilities would emerge, and a ripple effect of change that would come about would be wild. I don't think the powers that be that run the planet right now would want us to do it, friends. They'd rather keep us in frantic, fearful motion, because then we're not thinking, then we're not seeing. So the power and the possibility that would come from you doing a simple practice of learning to quiet the mind and receive the wisdom, you will be astounded. You will thank me in a year if you go and do that for the next year. I expect some thank you notes that say, wow, I did it. I did it. And look at what's come about because of it, right?
Job. And I mean, I've picked a lot of insights, and I mean, I haven't done it for 20 years like you. I've done it for maybe like a year, and my life has completely transformed. And so I can't even wait to see what's going to happen in the next 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. I probably will be flying without.
I know. Well, that's where the supernatural power comes from. So you're asking yourself the question this morning, wait a minute, how am I doing it? Well, I think you just revealed the answer. You're practicing in the silence. And what that does is it unlocks our abilities as human beings in ways that we're told aren't even possible, right? We do not truly believe that we can become Christ-like, but we can. But there are sets of practices to unleash the supernatural abilities that each human has. But very few people are willing to do that work. So thank you. I'm so excited that you're doing that work.
Thank you for joining us. And please stay locked. Don't go anywhere. Just stay with us during the session so that, once in a while we can see your pretty face. Don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, if we didn't learn anything from Patricia, she said 3 things that we should do, at least that I completely I'm taking into consideration. 1, pay attention with awareness of what is happening within us. Make sure you pay attention to it. Have self-compassion. Don't curse yourself, insult yourself, judge yourself, criticize yourself, tell yourself how terrible you are. Be compassionate with yourself, because don't forget you're also going through a process. And the softer and easier and more patient you are on yourself, the more you'll get, better at it. So don't like, if, for example, you started journaling, you start the first day, second day, you stop on the third day, pick it up. Stand up again on the 4th day and pick it up. Don't say, oh, I was stupid, I knew I couldn't do this. I mean, let's stop all those insulting words. And that's one thing that Patricia has definitely talked about. And then also connecting with your inner voice. Connecting with your inner voice and verbalizing it. We're able to know exactly what we want, and we're able to teach people how to treat us, because you're the only one that can teach people how to treat you. And if not all your experiences, you called upon yourself. So start to think differently, start to sit down, spend time listening to, sometimes just be quiet, listen to your heartbeats, breathe, write things down. Your mind will keep opening and opening and opening, and answers to things that you never imagined will come, because you are stayed on receiving. And when you're stayed on receiving, nothing else will happen but you receiving. Thank you so much, Patricia. You were wonderful. Now we're going to have a panel. Our second set of panelists are here. I'll introduce them. We've got 4 people, and they're all waiting and ready to jump on. We've got Dimma Wobi, who considers herself a spring of happiness, cheering individuals, couples, and families to flourish in order to enjoy more harmonious and meaningful relationships. We've got Bridget, who is a certified marriage master's mentor, an executive affiliate, a mental health and addiction counselor of the Institute of Marriage and Family Affairs. We've got Dio Samuel, who is a born teacher trainer, an industrial designer turned behavioral change professional, and author of the new groundbreaking book, Limitless Courage and Confidence, evidence-based strategies for overcoming fear and living free from anxiety. And we've got Zuriel, who is a lawyer, a certified family life practitioner, a certified parenting on purpose counselor, a certified Christian-based a personal enhancement push coach, an addiction recovery expert. She's worked with families, helping them to create relatable solutions to the challenges experienced by them. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all, Zuriel, Bridget, Dimma, Dio. Thank you for joining us today. Can we? Yes. I can see them. So Zuriel has joined us. Dima is here. Bridget is here. And Dio is here. Thank you for joining us today. And so let's go right into it. We're of course talking about the pandemic and recovery from the pandemic. And so I'll ask Zuriel this question. What is post-pandemic trauma? And why is it important that we pay attention to it?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Ubuntu to my family, Ubuntu to everybody out there. So basically, what is post-pandemic trauma? It's post-pandemic trauma is the after effect of what we experienced during the pandemic. One, it's the after effect of the pain, is the after effect of the loss. If that is after effect of the anxiety and panic everyone experienced, and how to deal with this pandemic, how to deal with this pain is basically the post-pandemic trauma. And why should we really look into it? If we fail to look at the consequences of what pandemic, now let's be focused to it, COVID-19 basically caused or created to a whole lot of families and nations, it means that we are not mindful of the challenges that people went through. We are not mindful of the mental effects, the emotional effect also on people. One of the examples is that you found out that some people lost their job, some people lost their loved ones, and it brought out a whole lot of challenges that people didn't even know they were experiencing in their home. Some couples didn't know how deep the trials or the pains they were experiencing. Some couples didn't know how deep the disunity that has taken place in their home was until the lockdown for a whole lot of people. And in effect, what it brought out was you found out that some couple actually went into shutdown. It wasn't just lockdown totally, but it actually created a shutdown in some homes. It created a shutdown in some lives. It created shutdown in organizations. It created shutdown in the whole nations that had the effect of pandemic, that had the effect of COVID-19, that had effect of what the consequences of what happened. And what needed to be done, you found out that people had to go look for help. Looking for help at the right places, was it gotten? Yes. But it also brought to the effect that the mental health space became so obvious for people. It became so significant that working with people who were battling with mental health cases became difficult because there was no longer the one-on-one therapy that people were going through. What moved was people moving on from the personal therapy to teletherapy. People moving on to teletherapy, people creating bonding in a different and unique way that they never expected was available to them. So for a whole lot of people, working in effect to make sure that they came back to pre-pandemic became what we needed to look into. Pre-pandemic, where the effects would not be felt so much and where people could heal easily. Where people could find wholeness easily, where people could find wholesomeness easily, and where people take away fear of when I go out, would things still be normal? Of course, things can't go back to normal because there's a new norm right now. Things can never go back to normal, but can I cope with what is happening right now? How am I prepared for what is happening right now, both mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially? How am I prepared to cope with it? These are all the phases that were looked into, that practitioners looked into, that individuals looked into, and we're still looking into to date. Thank you.
the best approach to overcoming trauma?
Do you mind repeating that question again?
What is the best approach to overcoming trauma?
All right, thank you very much for having me. In order to answer that question, well, let me kind of tell a story here. So this is the way I usually get to help people through trauma. And it is this way. So I call it, anyway, let me leave what I call it. Well, there was a time in your life that you every human being came to this world with a heart that is pure, a heart that is unadulterated, a heart that is soft, tender, opened, and wants to absorb as many things as possible. Now, as we grow up, certain things begin to take place in our lives. And as these things take place, as these things happen, what happens is that we now get to that point where what happened to us, we don't want it to happen again. In order for that thing not to happen again, we now build a shield around us. We build a protective wall around us. This protective wall now becomes what we now use to relate with the outer world. So this protective shield now becomes a way for us to mask what has happened to us in a way that other people will not know about it. We will be the only person that know about it. But then we will now put up a front in order to relate with other people. And so as this trauma has happened to us, as these incidents has happened to us, because we don't want to look back at that thing, it now begins to shape, it now begins to direct and begin to influence how much of life we enjoy, how much of peace, how much of harmony we enjoy. And the interesting thing is this. When we don't look back at things, it begins to create fear. It begins to create anxiety. It begins to create a lot of palpitation for us. And so what I usually do is I get people to look back at those things. But beyond looking back at those things, before they even look back, I help them access, first of all, what is the persona that you've developed as a reason of the trauma that happened in your life. For some people, they develop the persona of, I want to be a celebrity. And so they will go on social media, and social media becomes a way for them to put themselves out there. So they now create this persona of celebrity. For some people, the persona they pick up is the persona of a sports addict. So they want to be that guy who is always in sports. But it's because they are not attending to something that they've left behind. For some people, it becomes that pornography or sexual addictions become a way for them to now begin to deal with these things that they are not attending to. This trauma that they have built a wall of protection around themselves. And so they now begin to, I've had a case where this person, it was going against, in fact, this particular person that is coming to my mind right now, she wanted to, because of what happened to her, she wanted to do away with anything that has to do with God and wanted to live a life that is independent, completely void of God. And so she hated her parents, she hated her mom, hated her dad, simply because they were pastors who brought her in. And in the process, she had a trauma that was basically created by a spiritual father, so to say. And so in my work, what I usually do is I help people look back at those things that they are running away from, those things that they don't want to face, and help them check the you that you are trying to project to the world. Is it the real you, or it is the you that you have become rather than the you that you ought to have been? Because a lot of times, many of us will put on roles rather than really getting intimate with identity. So for example, we introduce ourselves as an accountant, I'm an engineer, I'm a coach, I'm a therapist. All of that are roles. When we strip away all of that, who will be left? Will you still be you? Will you still be able to connect with the real you? And so in my work, what I do is I help them take away all these masks and then help them connect back to their real selves. Because in the real sense, healing happens when you take away everything else that you seem to use as cover over your own onion.
Okay. That sounds like unearthing and digging all kinds of things, to find healing, which is really important. I personally believe that healing, until you've gone back, you can't go forward. And so, Zuriel, I'm going to ask you another question. As Africans, we hardly discuss grief and the need for grief therapy. We lost a lot of people during the COVID pandemic. How does grief therapy support or help bereaved people flourish better?
Thank you for this question. Okay, so basically you find out that people want to shut down or grieve when there is a loss. And you just find that people want to avoid whoever has lost a loved one or lost a friend from grieving. Now, you find out that working with people who have lost a loved one over the years, I've come to realize that some of them, what happens is that because they themselves have not grieved, what they did was they suppressed their emotions, they suppressed their pain. And when they go to someone who just lost a friend or lost a colleague, what happens at that moment is that it brings to their remembrance the loss they also have had in the past. And because they've not healed from it, they've not gone through the process of healing. Because healing is a process. The process of grieving is sometimes can be spontaneous for someone. Sometimes it takes a whole lot of time for someone. So individuals grieve and mourn in their unique way, in their own special way. So telling someone to shut down on their grief, asking someone not to cry, saying to someone it is okay, when in fact it is not okay with that person at that moment, is one of the ways we shut down people from grieving. There are processes to grieving, and those steps sometimes, so you have people who would go through those steps according to how those steps are in order. For some people, they will not go through those steps. Some people could just go through the first steps, which is denial. Some people go through the denial stage, the angry stage, the anxiety, the bargaining stage, the guilt stage, and finally get to the acceptance stage. However, it is not everyone. It is not everyone that will go through those processes the way those processes are there. The ultimate is to have everyone get to the acceptance stage, which is the wholeness stage, which is the totality, saying, I have gone through my pain, I have gone through my own grieving, and I have come out from that process. I remember when I lost my younger sister, I didn't cry. I didn't cry for more than a year. I did not cry at all. And that is how some people are. So asking people and saying to people that they should shut down on their grief is you extending their pain. And once you extend their pain for them, the possibility that they get to the place where they are depressed and are not able to come out from that depression, it cannot be phantom. Because for everyone who has lost a loved one, there's a depression stage they get to. Even when you lose your enemy, there's a stage you get to. You miss that person. You miss the everyday fight. So as Africans, when we tell people to shut down, it's okay, don't grieve, it's okay. No, we are not helping them. We are just helping them to fast forward their days of pain, their days of agony, their days of nightmares forward. And that is where the danger is, because it affects them emotionally, it affects them mentally, it sometimes even affects people spiritually. So what should people do when it comes to healing, to grief therapy? So I would say to people, as a family member, you may not be the right or the best person to help someone, maybe a loved one, to help your siblings, to help a family member who has lost someone. You may not be the best person to help them heal. That you healed fast and quick does not mean that your younger sister or your younger brother would heal the same way, or does not mean that your parents would heal the same way. We are not all wired the same way when it comes to grieving. And what should people do? Get help. In grief therapy encompasses a whole lot of things. Sometimes grief therapy encompasses art therapy, where the person may not be able to express themselves verbally, but they're able to draw out. Sometimes it's talk therapy, where the person just wants to talk and talk and talk about it. Sometimes it's the person just sitting down there and just listening to you. If you have nothing to say when an individual has lost someone, don't say it. You don't have to say anything. You're mere sitting down there and just looking at the person, smiling at the person, or once in a while asking the person, do you want to talk about it? Are you okay? Is very, very okay. And sometimes asking people to quickly remove the pictures of the person in the house, remove the things of the person from the house is not helping the person. Or saying, oh, don't talk about this person that has passed on. Don't talk about this person. Don't talk about it. Stop crying. No, you're not helping them. Let people grieve. Let people go through their process of grieving until they are able to get to their journey of healing. Let people go through their process of grieving until they're able to get to their journey of healing. And sometimes as Africans, we want to always hide behind religion to say, oh, God giveth and God has taken. Yes. As much as we know that God giveth and God has taken, this person that has lost a human being, another human being, is not a supernatural being. This person is a natural being. And natural beings must grieve a loss. You cannot continue to deny a loss. You cannot continue to pretend that this person has the person that has died, you're not missing this person. So that for that person's mental wellness, the person's emotional wellness also, and even their spiritual wellness also, it is okay to grieve. It is okay to ask God why. So when an individual is grieving, and when it comes to grief therapy, get help for those persons. Do not become the grief doctor. Do not become the grief specialist, all because you are this person's family or the person's friend. You are not a grief specialist. You are not a grief therapist. Get them help. And if it is a filial therapy you want to get for them, which is family therapy, when it comes to grieving, get help for them individually. You cannot take away grief therapy, because what grief therapy would do for people who have lost a loved one is to take them through the process of grieving. Take them through the process of their grief to the place of wholeness, to the place of essence, to where they're able to come out. And it's not as if they would not miss this person. They would miss this person for the rest of their life. However, when they are healed, they are able to cope with the loss. Because that is what grief therapy does to you. It helps you cope with the loss. It says to you at the end of the day, even after 10 years and you still want to cry, please cry. Even after 15 years and you still want to cry, please cry. But you need to also understand that you cannot shut down on the memories of that individual. Preserving the memories of the individuals, talking about the sweet things that they have done. Sometimes talking about the fights you have is always amazing. I keep saying it, that today I do not have someone who shouts my name the way my late younger sister would always shout my name. I do not have someone who would compete in drinking Coke the way we compete in drinking Coke. So that is one aspect I would forever remember her for. So when it comes to grieving and the loss of a loved one, most especially in the last 1 year, I've met people who are ashamed of even saying, oh, I lost a family member through COVID. I lost a family member through this pandemic. When you're able to talk about it, when you're able to verbalize your emotions, verbalize your feelings, verbalize how you are feeling because of the loss, it is a quicker way. It is a more healthier way to your healing. It's a more amazing way for you to heal. Don't let people shut down on their pains. Don't let people shut down on their grief. Do not tell people to suppress their pain, because all you're doing is you're only helping them to extend that pain. And once you have that, and that is why people go into depression, they're unable to come back from the depression. That is why people become suicidal, because they get to the point where they're not able to cope with the loss. and they also just want to go be with the person. And I also say this, so when it comes to grieving, please, when you have to come, when you have to do with the fact that a child has lost a parent, a certain parent, please do not forget that that child is also grieving. In fact, the child is also in pain, in as much pain as a certain parent. So the family members are not the best person. If you can get help for that child, get. And if it is for you to look for pro bono help for the child, look for pro bono help for the child. Don't go saying to that child, the parent has gone to heaven, heaven is beautiful. What you're unconsciously doing to that child, you're unconsciously saying to the child, you can also die and go to a better place. No, you don't do that to that child. Because I've had instances where children believe that because a certain adult has told them daddy has gone to be with the Lord, daddy is dead, and daddy is in a better place, daddy is in heaven, that child also wants to die. So what you want to help that child do is to get help for the child, where an expert, a grief expert, talks with the child, run therapies with the child, run therapies with the people, and step by step help them begin to enjoy wholeness. And like I would always say, help them to begin to own their essence. Because when you're able to own your essence, you eventually enjoy your wholeness. Thank you.
Sorry. So there was a question that was asked, and it says, is there a duration for grieving? The question was for you.
Basically, there's no duration for grieving. Yes. Okay, so there's no duration for grieving. There's no, because like I said earlier on, people grieve according to the way they understand pain and loss. I may understand pain, so let me say the story. I lost my younger sister. While every other person was crying, I was being the superwoman. I did not cry. Even when the news of her death was said to me, I didn't cry. The only day I shed a tear was the day she was being lowered into the ground. And I think that was when reality dawned on me. But however, my tears was very short-lived. Now, it took me 3 years before reality dawned on me that this person is never coming back. Because sometimes I expect to hear her shout my name. Sometimes I expect her calls. Sometimes I'm expecting her to give me a call. Sometimes I'm expecting her to do something. Sometimes somebody comes into the house and I'm calling her name. Sometimes I want to call somebody's name and it's her name I'm calling. So it took me 2 3 years to realize I was still grieving, I was still hurting. As much as there is no time limit for grieving, what you also want to help the person do is to understand that long-term grieving may not be too healthy for them emotionally and mentally. So when you notice that someone is taking time to heal, one thing you want to find out is what stage of grief is that person in at that particular time? Because it may be that the person is stuck in the stage of denial. It may be that the person is stuck in the stage of bargaining, which is the feeling guilty, blaming themselves. It may be that the person is stuck in the place of anger. It may be that the person is stuck at the place of depression. So what stage is that person in? That is what you want to help the person find out so that you are able to walk the person through that process. Yeah, someone who died, someone who fell sick and died. So a person who is 80 dies. You know, of course, most likely that is a natural death. But a mother loses her child. You cannot tell the mother to stop grieving after 1 month or after 5 months because the mother is crying. No.
Sorry, Zuriel, I'm not sure if you can hear me. We can't hear you very well. So please, maybe you can, I'll come back to you whilst we sort that out. Bridget, I've got a question for you. We all know that there's no one way to solving a problem. Unfortunately, every discipline seeks to lay claim to being the best solution. As someone who has been through different experiences, how can all disciplines come together to save humanity? Bridget, did you hear me?
Okay, no, I didn't hear the last thing you said, but I heard part of the multidisciplinary approach. Okay, what was your question?
Okay, Bridget, we're also having some concerns with your internet as well. Dimma, I'll come to you whilst we sort out Bridget, and we can ask the question again. So Dimma, from the positive psychology perspective, how can people practically stay sane in the midst of pain?
Thank you, Adiola, for that. So when we're talking, if we want to take it from the positive psychology angle, can you hear me clearly, please? Okay. Dayo, can you hear me? All right. So from the positive psychology angle, we want to look at life and even pain. For example, when somebody is in pain, we tend to, many factors, we tend to be fixated on the thing causing us the pain. First of all, because of how our brains are wired to place emphasis on the negative. And then again, because of what we call the explanatory style, how you as an individual explains the pain to yourself. So I like to always say that nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That is from the words of William Shakespeare in his popular book, The Hamlet. And that just is the intro as to the positive psychology way of handling pain and getting back into your wholeness. To say that we first of all must, I love what Patricia did by sharing with us the flourishing circle of going from self-awareness to self-compassion and self-care. So we first of all need to understand, why am I feeling pain? Why am I suffering? Because awareness in itself ignites the healing process. So one of the things is to understand the structure of your pain and suffering. So you are in pain because something you cherish, you have lost it, or there is a threatened loss of it. Whether a relationship went bad, whether your marriage is not giving you the kind of satisfaction, your work, or any of the dimension of life, it's fundamentally because something you cherish has been lost. And we know that as human beings, there are three core brain needs that we have: the need for love, the need for connection, and the need for belonging. And like Brené Brown says in her work, when there is an absence of any of those three things, there is bound to be suffering, there is bound to be pain. So for that individual who is in pain, to bring the person back to wholeness, we need to first of all educate yourself. Find out what is the structure of your pain. Why am I in pain? And fundamentally, all of the pain that we feel, as valid and as authentic as they are, there is something underlying it. There is the belief on which it is resting. So until we're able to sit with ourselves and get to the root of what value of mine was violated that is causing me pain, what belief is sitting at the root, we call that in positive psychology detecting the icebergs, because all of the things happening above it is just the things we think the issues are. We need to go down to deal with the issues. So that's the first step. Understanding why you're hurting, understanding what values of yours was trampled on, and understanding, being able to find out your beliefs. And if those beliefs are not serving you, there is a process of belief change where you are able to change the belief and adopt a new empowering belief. But the thing about it is that if you do not act on the new belief, then we go back to the circle of the self-fulfilling prophecy. The next thing to do is to grow resilience. Now, suffering is a polarity of life. There will never be a time that you and I will be free from pain. Pain will come in one form or the other. But then the question is, what skills, what tools do you have that can support you even to thrive through the pain? In positive psychology, there is this beautiful definition of resilience by Chris Peterson that I find very instructive and I hold dear to my heart and also share with the people I'm working with. that resilience is the ability to struggle well. So it's not necessarily that I want to take away all of the things causing you pain. It's that in the midst of the pain, you will be able to struggle well. And it starts from what you're thinking about it. So contrary to what we believe that, oh, maybe somebody is pessimistic or someone is optimistic, we know from research that it is a style of thinking. Say, for example, I could be thinking pessimistically about my marriage if it's not working, but I'm thinking optimistically about my business. So you can't say I'm a pessimist. It is the way I am thinking in the context. So in that thing that is causing you pain, you want to be able to move from pessimistic thinking to optimistic thinking. And there is a process to that. How you're able to use real-time resilience. Simple questions. Now, this is at the end of it. There is a process, but I'll just go to real-time resilience, where you're able to say to yourself, when something that is causing you pain and wants to keep you in that situation, and you're able to look at that thing and you say, this is not true because, so you're finding positive evidence to counter what that pain is suggesting to you. Or you could look at that situation that is causing you pain and you say, another way I can look at this is, so you're reframing it. You're using your power as a God to change the meaning. We talk about, is the meaning actually that we gave to that circumstance that is causing us the pain. And interestingly, because our brains cannot differentiate real from imagined, any story we tell our brain believes it. And that is one of the fundamental things that if everyone here gets this, you will thrive through pain. That when that pain is telling you stories, you have the power to change the meaning. And it's not, you don't need to do anything too long a process. Just by changing the meaning and telling a different story, your brain believes it. Because our brains cannot differentiate real from imagined. That's why we watch a movie and you're crying, even though you know it's make-believe. So you can anchor that to heal your pain. And so when you build this resilient skills of thinking, of emotions mastery, because you should be able to track your thoughts, your feelings, and the consequences they lead you to, so that you can know your triggers and your pattern. Because if you don't know your pattern, you can't change it. And then lastly, when it comes to the end of, to now get your peace and everything through the pain, it's about you honing your authentic happiness. I can't say this enough. And I always keep going back to Brené's words. Brené says that authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who you think you are supposed to be and embracing the person you are. So the self-care, many times when people are talking about self-care, they just say, oh, I went to the spa, I did my nail, I did that. And I'm like, okay, that could be body self-care, but there is soul self-care. If you want to heal from pain, you must speak to your soul. And there's also spirit soul care, because we are body, mind, and spirit. And so we should, I think I'll leave with this, that one of the most beneficial questions you can ask yourself every day in this pain-infused world is this question: what do I need now? And if you ask yourself what you need now, your body will tell you what you need. If it's sleep, if it is whatever, you attend to it. Your soul will tell you what you need, and you should attend to it. And your spirit will tell you what you need. And the more you attend to your body, mind, and spirit with different practices that time will not permit us to share here, the more you will heal from the pain, the more you will reconnect back to your authentic self. And I must put this: if there is anyone in pain, and you do not have at least one person who I don't choose to, positive psychology calls it an active, constructive responder. And what does that simply mean? Somebody that is happy with you. Somebody that you share enthusiastic support with. Somebody that you can share compassion, you can share connection, and you can share courage with. Every human being needs at least one. There are 5 you should get: a coach, a mentor, a friend, a cheerleader, and a peer. But if you can't get the 5, at least have one. That when the pain is too much in your head, you can call the person and say, guy, and the person is someone that has earned the right to your story, that you can be vulnerable with. So all of those practices can support us to go from pain to more pleasure and authentic happiness.
For that, at least I got, if I didn't get anything, is to ask myself, what do I need now? And what I need now, if I say it out, I'm not sure this conference will continue. So I'll keep it to I'll keep it to myself. Thank you, Dima, for that. Bridget, I'll come back to you and ask you the question I asked again, so that I apologize. I think the internet was messy on my side, so apologies for that. We all know there is no one way to solving a problem, Bridget. Unfortunately, every discipline seeks to lay claim to being the best solution. As someone who's been through different experiences, how can all disciplines come together to promote and save humanity? Unmute.
So much. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Dima. Thank you, Zurel. Thank you, Zurel. Talking about something else. Okay, so as a coach, what I have learned is there's no one way to achieving what the well-being or the holistic way of getting yourself to be well. So one thing you must know, just like Dima said, what do you need? If you need a positive psychology coach, you go to one. You need a grief coach, you go to one. You need a mental and wellness coach, you go to one. So there are different ways, but in all of this, we're all working hand in hand. Whether as a family coach, as a wellness coach, as an emotional health coach, whatever, we're working hand in hand to make sure that whoever needs us will get the help they need. Sometimes I might not be the one to help the person. I might be into emotional health, and Zurel can bring play and maybe spirituality into what is happening. And then the person gets what they have. I have had to learn mindfulness, affirmation, just to make sure that I help my clients better. And that has helped in making sure that people that need that help, it's not just me saying I'm a family coach. I had to go learn how to help people manage themselves in terms of their emotions, in terms of their mental well-being. And that took time. And then now I am learning mindfulness, how to tell people, stop. What do you really need? One is stop and take stock. Stop and check yourself. Who do I need at this time in my life? Is it a neuroscientist? Is it a coach that will help me with that? Is it a friend that I need? Is it a grief counselor that I need? You need to stop and take stock first of all, and then take a breath, just like Iwo taught us today. I've had to work with her. At a point in my life, I needed to lose weight. Despite being a coach, I've gotten some part of my life together, but this part of my life, I needed help. So I had to meet a fitness coach. I'm working to being whole, but that part of my life was not covered. I couldn't help myself. I needed an accountability partner, and I also needed a coach. And he taught me how to breathe, how to stop and be mindful. So everybody, it's like how we say the Ubuntu principle. Everyone is there because of the next person. So we're all together, bringing all the approaches together to make sure that the individual is whole. So with everything that we've said, a lot of people do not truly know that there's no one way to being whole. There's no one way. For some, one way will work. The other person, it might not work. I've had people come to me and they say, I need more. And I'll say, okay, I have this person. Please go see this person. So at the end of the day, we're all working hand in hand to make sure that we get the best for the individual, for the group, for the family, for everyone. So please, whatever works for you is what you should go for. So stop, take stock, be open, observe what you need for yourself, and then proceed to making sure that whatever therapy you decide to, path you decide to take, you stay on course. Because some people will come without going through the process completely, they will run. People are looking for steps and quick measures. It won't work that way. So whatever path you decide to choose, whether it's neuroscience, whether it's positive psychology, whether it's mindfulness, or even trying to get an experiential coach to take you through things, because some people will get better if they watch somebody do something. How about to watch people do things and learn from them? So whatever it is, learn and become that whole person that you desire to be.
Stop, take stock, be open to learning, have a coach. I'm not sure a lot of people understand the importance of having a coach. I even say that even to my French. My Duolingo is my coach for French. So I have a coach in every area of my life. Anything that I feel I need to learn, I look for who can teach me, whether pro bono or not. But I think it's more important to pay somebody that you work with, especially as a coach, so that you won't take it serious and you're able to also use it, in your life. And also when you pay for these services, it becomes, I personally think it becomes more effective to you, because you show up for it as serious, rather than if it was your friend that was just doing it for you. So it's important to take Bridget's advice. Stop, take stock, be open to learning. I say that I'm a learner from everyone and everywhere. So I'm going to ask Dayo another question. How does adverse childhood experiences and attachment types affect adolescents and even adults, Dayo?
Thank you for that question, and I hope that you can hear me clearly now.
I think you need to bump your volume up just a little bit.
All right. So in my experience and from my learnings, I found that adverse childhood experiences create basically 5 key things, or cause 5 key things to an adult. So first of all, it creates what I have decided to term dysregulation of the nervous system, whereby this person gets to have certain emotions attached to what they've experienced in the past. And because they've attached a lot of emotions, in fact, some people call it significant emotional experiences. So anytime this thing is triggered, whether by reason of seeing something or even remembering the memory, what happens is that they get to experience the emotion they experienced the first time it happened. They experience it all over again. And that cycle can keep running all through their lives. The second thing that I have observed that adverse childhood trauma creates is what I refer to as a disruption of attachment. That is, trauma naturally catches somebody away from something they're already used to. So trauma kind of cuts off what you have been doing in a way that you've been doing it. And so it kind of changes the direction of how you are doing things. And literally, that's when it happens, or when it creates that, this person now have a need for harmony. This person will develop a need for wanting to bring things into reality in their lives. The third thing that I've also noticed that childhood trauma and adverse childhood experiences create is what I have called the distortion of identity. And this distortion of identity is similar to what we've been discussing so far. And this happens when, so let's say this child, okay, in my own experience, what happened to me was, when I was growing up, I used to be very extroverted. I used to be the guy that a lot. I had this same experience of adverse childhood experience and childhood trauma. Now, what it happens is that it distorts this person's identity such that they now take up a new identity, which I explained earlier on, and which Dima also touched and Zura also touched. as they now pick up this cover, they pick up this way they want to be seen in the world, that is kind of disconnected from who they truly are. What I refer to as isolation. How do you that? Oh, interesting.
I think Dio has frozen. We'll come back to you, Dio. So Zuriel, let me come back to you. What activities can people and families regularly do to overcome the myriad of bad news that is all over media and experience wholeness?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is not all news is news. It is not every news that is on social media or on the telemedia that should go into your system, that should go into your body, go into your mind. Because some of this news alone would distort your emotions, will cause you, will bring anxiety and panic to you. So I remember last year when the pandemic started and the news was flying around and almost everybody was interested in listening to the news, to hear how many deaths are taking place. And I had to work with a few people. I remember working with an adult, and this particular adult said to me, "Oh, I saw Corona pursuing me in my dreams." Although it was funny because I had to ask this person, "Okay, so tell me, how does Corona look like?" So while I was asking her questions, I found out that what this person did was, for every news that was being sent to the WhatsApp, every news this person was reading. On the media, this person was taking those news. In fact, at the point this individual was going to check on the number of deaths that was taking place in other countries and in Nigeria. So what should people do? The first thing you need to understand is that your resilience may not be as strong as someone else's resilience. So what I can take, what I can listen to, what I can accept, you may not be able to take it in. And your emotional wellness, your mental well-being, your emotional bliss and mental harmony is key. It is extremely key that right now, you need to learn to detox. You need to learn to detox emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially, and become aware of the things you need to let go. And when I say you need to learn to detox socially, is you need to know the people whose only mission is to send you news. And the news they are sending to you, either through any of the social media, and news that will cause you to start having anxiety disorder or panic attacks or start giving you nightmares. So you want to block those ones off. First and foremost, you need to learn to block some certain people off on social media. You also need to know what stations you want to go to. You need to be aware of conscious of the kind of news that comes into you. Then as a family, what do you also need to do as a family? As family members, you want to create activities, intentional activities, deliberate activities that will help you stay sane, that will help your emotional bliss and mental harmony continue to top up. So as families, sometimes you also want to journal, because journaling is amazing. How you spent your day, how you also want to spend the next day. You want to create activities like PF talked about Dima, whose family would always dance, even though sometimes Dima's dance is very, very fantastic from behind. But you want to create those kind of activities where you create healthy family dancing competition, When I mean healthy family dancing competition, there is no winner. Nobody is winning the dancing competition. Sometimes you create a playlet in your family. Create a playlet in your family. Sometimes it's just you sitting down and talking about it. Where as a family you sit down, you talk about yourself. You are intentional about talking about yourself. You're intentional about talking about your goals. You have healthy family cooking competitions. Sometimes, okay, right now the lockdown has been eased a bit. You want to take family strolls, you want to take family hangout to same places. Then as individuals, because sometimes it's not everybody that is married, is you have people who are living alone. You want to be intentional about the places you go to. You want to create your own personal self-care. Sometimes your self-care can be as much as you walking barefooted for the next 30 minutes. Sometimes it's just soaking yourself in your bath or just staying under the cold shower. And sometimes it's also sitting down and speaking to yourself. If there's anything that is amazing, is self-talk. Self-talk in reassuring yourself that things may not be all right now, but things will definitely be all right very soon. And, giving yourself timelines. When you're not aware that you need to give yourself timelines on how you want to move from your place of the unknown to the place of known, which is a place of wholeness, which is a place of healing, you find out that you perpetually stay at your place of unknown. And your place of unknown is a place of pain. Your place of unknown is a place of the news that is going on. Right now, what we are battling with right now, as much as people are battling with the aftermath of COVID, right now it's Israel and Palestine right now. So the news is up there. Today I saw the pictures of people who had been killed, and I just said to myself, Zuriel, as yes, I feel I'm empathetic towards them. I feel pain towards them, but this would not be what I'll go to bed with. I would not have nightmares. I speak to my mind. I speak to my body. I speak to my soul. I speak to my brain. I speak to the relevance of my entity. And that is where I do conscious self-talk, conscious self-taking of your mind, deliberate and intentional taking of your moments, of your times, and of the things that rules over you. So you need to rule over your time, you need to rule over your moments, and you need to rule over your activity. Self-care, the things you do. You want to play, you want to dance, you want to go visit positive and empowering people. Family timeout, family bonding, family play, family singing competition. Sometimes just sitting down as a family and just looking at yourself, appreciating yourself, gratitude challenge with your family members, with yourself. What I tend to encourage people to do is to have a jar, sometimes have a jar somewhere where every day you are dropping your gratitude, what you're grateful for. You're dropping it bit by bit. Sometimes you just wake up and there's nothing you're grateful for. You just feel, oh, there's nothing I'm grateful for. What you want to do is go to that jar, pick out something from the jar and read it to yourself. Exhale it into your mind. Exhale it into your soul. Exhale it into every being of your connectivity. And you find out that gradually, it may not happen instantly, but gradually you're finding yourself reconnecting back to you enjoying your being. Because the only way you can create the best activity you can create for yourself is an activity that has to do with you enjoying your being, enjoying yourself, being happy with yourself, being totally awesome with yourself. Thank you.
So create fun activities, play, cooking competitions, hanging out with yourself, personal self-care, gratitude jar that I really like. Create different experiences to be able to have fun. I think we have lost we don't know how to have fun anymore. And we can learn from our children. You know, children are carefree. They don't know the difference. So watch to learn, to have fun and play. Look at your children and learn from them. They're one immediate teacher for you to learn and have fun. And they say things also that you'll be amazed at. So be open to learning from your children as well. I think is really important. Thank you so much, Zuriel, for that. So I'm going to come to Bridget again. What is the balance between praying and personal responsibility in being whole? Bridget, did you hear? Okay, can you unmute Bridget, please? Hold on, my dear. Bridget, can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Good,
Yes,
we can hear you now.
Hear
yes. So how do what's the balance between praying and taking personal responsibility in becoming whole?
Okay, it's faith and work. You cannot just say faith. I tell people you sleep all day and you expect to be slim. Like I used to have some extra weight. Just praying alone will not work. I had to do the work. I had to start eating healthily. I had to start, exercising, which I don't like. And I had to stop the sugary drinks, the bad habits. So the prayer will work, which is like an affirmation, So the prayer will work, but at the same time, you have to do the work. You have to probably get a coach, like I had to get Coach Iwo. You have to also get a diet plan, work with your meal, and do something. So it's okay to say, okay, I'm praying to be well. I'm okay. You have a mental health issue. Sometimes your prayers, God is saying, go get a coach, a mental health expert, or go see a psychologist, or see somebody that can help you get better. You can't just sit down and say, I am spiritual, I'm praying, and things will work out like that. Faith without works, as the Bible will say, is dead. So whether you like it or not, it's good to pray. Prayer is like an affirmation, but at the same time, there's work to be done. If all we all did was to pray and say, oh, I will be a positive psychology expert, I don't think Dima will be such an expert. If all you did was to pray and you were not out there, my sister, you won't be here being the host of the program. So you did the work and they saw that you are capable of this work that you're doing and you were called. So it's good to pray, which I am a big fan of, but prayer takes work. Sometimes you have to do the work, and the work will mean getting a coach. The work will mean reading a book. The work will mean getting an accountability partner to hold you accountable as you go through your process of wholeness and wellness. The work will mean, as in after prayer, getting inspiration to go back to school, to get something done that will make you whole at the end of the day. So prayer is good, but there's need to put in some work as you pray.
It's not just a sexy damsel overnight starting from size 122. Sleeping is not going to help you. Yes, sleep is some of it, but then you need to put in the work. So guys, as you put the prayer in, you also have to put the work in. Thank you so much. Daya, I'll come back to the question that we asked when you went off and then round it off with Dimma. How does adverse childhood experiences and attachment types affect adolescents and even adults?
All right, thank you. Can you hear me right now? All right. Earlier on, I mentioned 5 things or the 5 ways that adverse childhood experiences and trauma that we have before our teen years or before we become adolescents, how they affect us. And I remember mentioning that the first of the 5 is dysregulation of the nervous system, where your nervous system now becomes hijacked in such a way that there's something we call amygdala hijack. which means that anytime you see or smell or sense, or maybe even taste or feel a certain way, an experience you've had previously, you get to experience it all over again. Even when that thing may not be directly physical or may not be directly present in your front. So that's the first thing. The second thing I also mentioned is the distortion of identity, where trauma changes who we are. Trauma, adverse childhood experiences. And I remember sharing my own story that I used to be extroverted, at least a bit, when I was growing up. But today I'm no longer extroverted because who I was is now different from who I am. And a lot of people are just like that. They have stopped becoming human beings and have become human doings. That is, they're a product of their parents, a product of the people they look up to, they're a product of maybe even the society, maybe even the way Nigeria conditions you. So that's the second thing that happens to us. And the third that I mentioned is the, I think, the disruption of our connection, or let me call it this way, isolation. That is, once you have a certain experience similar to the 18 to 24 that are listed in adverse childhood experiences, what happens is that there seems to be some connection that now, there seems to be a disconnection that happens. So let's say your parent treated you a certain way. There's a tendency for you to disconnect from them, and that can transfer into your adult life. In fact, a lot of adults, especially those who don't tend to like their parents today, what they will look back is, when I was small, my mom used to beat me or my dad used to beat me. Like an experience I had, I remember I used to like football a lot. Today, I don't like football that much, majorly because my philosophy changed over time. But principally, it was because I was always beaten. I was best goalkeeper in my area. I was best goalkeeper in my primary school. But today, I don't even watch football anymore. Well, maybe because my philosophy has changed. But of course, the philosophy that changes that rather than be watching stars and be a fan, why can't I be the star and other fans start watching me? That's the philosophy that changed over time. So that's basically why I just stopped. But I remember then, I used to be beaten. Today, me and my dad, who used to beat me every time I go to watch football, today we can't even discuss football because anytime I want to discuss it, I remember it. Sometimes I use it to play with him and tell him that, Dad, do you remember the day you beat me on this? So he just said, my friend, get out of here. But some people from that experience, they develop this disconnection from their parents such that it permanently damages that relationship. The fifth one that I also mentioned is that we disconnect from experiences. And this is where the sense of looking for harmony, the sense of looking for something in our lives or feeling like something has happened in our lives, this is where that now begins to play out. So sometimes when things happen to us, especially, it's the reason why as a parent, as a father, as a mother, as a guardian, the way you treat a child, because scientifically we've learned, even in the days of Jews, you remember that sometimes some scriptures will say things like, train up a child in the way he should go. That train up a child in the way he should go, we quote it because we tend to see a lot of things as quotes. But when we look at it and the culture that actually quoted, made that statement, what they usually say is something like this: design a life for that child. Design how every single day of that child is going to run, and you can predict how the child is going to end up by the time the child becomes an adult. Let me give you a clear example. So let's say you have a child and you keep speaking bad things to that child almost every day. Now, what is happening to that child is, of course, the child's sensors, by sensors, I'm referring to the organs within the brain that basically detect negativity. That child's sensors go up. They become very alert. And so that child may go into society constantly being on alert. And what you find is that that child will find it very difficult to relate with other people. that child will find it very difficult to go into a relationship where they can be completely open, where they can completely be honest, simply because they're coming from a place where they have trained their brain and their nervous system to constantly be on alert. So if a guy does a way, you say, of course, all men has come now. That's why he's doing that way. But the interesting thing is that all men cannot be scum, because you've not related with 100% of the men that are on the earth today. So all men can definitely not be scum. And if it's a guy, you find that the guy will act in a certain way towards women simply because that is how that child, when he was a child, that's how he was used to. So a lot of times what people become as adults are product of what they've experienced when they were children. I remember something that I saw sometimes last or 2 months ago, that a child tends to hear a lot of no's in a single day than an adult will receive a no in a month. That's because if that child moves this way, you shout, no, 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 no. And you can say no 7 times just to tell the child one thing. And that has made me to all make this statement that a lot of times parents try to correct their children. They don't coach that child. That is, we try to correct our children, but we don't coach them. The paradigm I would like for you to adopt from here is, rather than trying to correct that child, have you coached that child yet on that thing you are correcting that child about? If you have done that, then you have the license to actually tell the child, no, 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 no. But if you haven't done that, at least start with a lot of yes, so that that child does not get used to no, and then that child now develops these active sensors that make them constantly on alert and want to always defend themselves.
Thank you, Dio, for that. In fact, as you mentioned the no, 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 no bit, I listened to a lady who said that children tend to have a lot of ear pain because of the no they hear. And because they've heard so many no's, they're trying to shut it out. So they have a lot of ear pain. And it's based on what parents have said to their children as children. And it was a I can't remember her, but she'll tell you if you had such pain in your left arm or in your back, it means it should direct it straight to the trauma that you're facing and the pain you are carrying. And if you can let it go, then that pain will go. I can't remember now, all of a sudden I can't remember her name. But yes, I mean, it's very important, what we do to our children, because what we do to them is what they grow up to be. I mean, some of us are adults walking all around and still throwing tantrums and still living our childhood. I remember that I used to, my first character was naughty. And then when the naughty character stopped serving me, I moved straight into savior, and I had to carry those characters because I felt like that was how I was getting attention from my parents. So I moved from naughty, very naughty, even if I really wasn't a naughty child, but my naughty always got me the affection and attention that I felt I needed as a child. And then when I was older, naughty stopped working. I moved straight into savior. And then I carried that into now liking projects and believing that if I can save this project, people will appreciate me and tell me, well done. And when my well done did not come, wow, the world is about to end. When my well done did not come. So yes, it's very important. I mean, I'm able to say this now because I've also done a lot of self-work, and I've been able to realize where different things have happened in my life, and it all goes back to when I was a child. So it's very important what we do to our children, what we say to our children, how we say it to our children, and so that they don't, I know PF was saying that in our time they trained us with lack, so father is eating 6 pieces of meat, mother is eating 4 pieces, children it's like a medal. After you have eaten your food, is the last, you must eat your meat last. So we've come from a place of lack, and then you're not expecting us to behave ourselves when we're older. It's impossible. You can't give what you don't have, so thank you very much for explaining that, broadly for people to understand. So Dimma, I'm going to come to you again. What roles does effective family systems play in attaining wholeness in the midst of this new wave of divorce?
effective family systems and divorce. So first of all, we want to remember that the family is the production center of the society. And as such, everything starts from the family. The love, the connection, the belonging, the sense, like Dio was talking about, of attachment. So recently, I started watching some replays of The Red Table with, I'm trying to remember her name. Her name just escaped my mind. Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett. Yeah. So I started watching some replays, and what made me, the one my husband sent me, the one she did with Bobby Brown, when he was talking about his experiences after he lost his son and the daughter he had with Whitney, you know, and the whole lot of it. And then I went into another, and it was just as if the universe was sending messages and people that I was working with in real time that were suffering from generational trauma. So it was from one generation to the other, and the people not having the skills, just like Dio said, when there is no secure attachment in a home, where the people, the children, do not feel a sense of being seen. They don't feel suited when they're in pain, when their emotions, their parents are not even taught on how to deal with their emotions. So how can you emotions coach a child when you can't even deal with your own emotions? And the child is not feeling safe, is not feeling secure. A bunch of things could happen. And know that it's like we're repeating the pattern. Because if you listen to, let me use the one of Bobby Brown, his own father had this dysfunctional childhood, and so brought it into his home. Even as a child, he was introduced to drugs, and he continued and he continued. So in talking about divorce, why do people divorce really? It's when they no longer feel love. It's when there is no matter what we say, oh, we're not connecting, oh, he's abusing me, or whatever. It is essentially when we feel that aggravated absence of love, belonging, and connection, and not just in the moment, when it has become a pattern. That's why parenting and family system is very dear to my heart. When I started my work, I started with working with married couples on how to build better intimacy. But as I continued in my journey of evolution, I saw that even the married people were victims themselves of dysfunctional homes, the way they were engineered. And so I started to research more on parenting, and then grew into all of the work that I'm doing now on human flourishing and well-being, to say that family is integral. Because even sometimes the people who go for divorce, they might have tried. They might be people that have been traumatized, and they've not been able to get help. That is why the work we do at the Institute is very important. And sometimes even the people they seek help from, the people who position themselves as experts, they just do native intelligence. They're just giving them advices. So yes, it's not enough to say, oh, if you have a challenge, seek help. Some people have genuinely sought help, but the help worsened their situation and confused them even more. So that's why I'm saying that anyone listening to us today, you want to start by getting some tools that are evidence-based, such like we teach in the Family Systems Engineering Network, to know that there are people out there who are professionals, people out there who are skillful in how to help people. Because I tell you, nobody, and except the person has been proven to have a mental health challenge, goes into a marriage preparing to divorce. It's rarely. Okay, because recently I heard about someone who did a bet with his friends, and it was a monetary bet that he was going to get this woman and he will get married to her, and after 3 years he will leave her, and he actually did that. For that person, I asked that they needed to evaluate him mentally, because nobody ordinarily goes into marriage all mental faculties intact to divorce. So when we divorce, it's because things have gone bad. Things have gone bad. And these things that have gone bad, really and honestly, I'm saying this first of all by empathizing and saying, if you divorced, I am not in any way downplaying the pain or the struggle or the commitment that you put into it. Even when we heard about Bill and Melinda, they said we've sought help, we've done the things we could do, but we no longer feel we can continue. So my next thing I'm about to say is not in any way downplaying your pain or saying that you took a premature decision to separate. No, because I understand that if the marriage becomes so toxic and injurious to your well-being and your health, then you can separate and even divorce. But if we start, and if all of us will be honest with ourselves, some of the times the red flags were showing, but then probably we didn't want to stop it. We didn't want to end it at this time. Or even you didn't even know what red flag to look out for. So even relationship is a vital part of family systems. So I'm asking us, because I like to make things practical. If you have children that are pre-teens, like we call them, but I call them young adults, adolescents, because we understand from brain science that the changes happening in the brain that starts to happen at about 10 years. So if your child is 10 and above, that child is an adolescent. What are you teaching your child about relationships? Because the child is not going to get into a relationship and know the red flags to watch out for that will make the marriage not eventually end in a divorce when he's in the relationship. It's from what he's learning at home. So it's not enough for us to be, we can do all the self-care, we can do all of the prayers, which is very fantastic. But that is why I say that every family should pay attention to the 12 dimensions that make for life holistic. And relationship is one of it. I give you a story. So our oldest daughter is 17. And so she's about to leave home because she's going to the university. And so in the January period when we were doing our vision retreat, we decided to intensify the things we're learning, particularly on relationship with them. And so my family is such that we have apprentices living with us because of the kind of business that my husband does. And so the apprentices live with us in the same compound and they join in this learnings because they are influencing my children. So I'm not going to say, I will teach my children, that I'm not teaching them, but they play, they spend time together. So they're as much as an influencer on them that like I am. And so we're talking relationships and we're talking about the myths surrounding relationships. So things about man being breadwinner, woman being caregiver, not marrying somebody older than you. And one of the apprentice living with us said that he wasn't going to marry somebody older than him. And so we said, okay, so why? He said because he wasn't going to marry a woman that was older than him, and even if she had more money than him, because she's not going to respect him. And she's got if she does anything in the home, she'll say it's because she's doing. And my daughter, the 15 going to 16, says to him, so you want to marry her so that because she will not respect you, are you going to respect her? And conversation started. So now they call him Mr. Respect as a joke. Any small thing they say, leave Mr. Respect too. But that brought out a lot of conversation. Like my daughter was like, so things like that. But we're preparing them. What can you see in a relationship? So every family needs to be doing this intentionally. Now I see sometimes we want to keep even talking about sex. Like it's as real. The day we're having the conversation and my son who is 10 going to 11, he says, so when can we go? When can we go on a date? And I said, okay, when do you want to go on dates? When can we have sex? I said, sex is only in marriage. You can't have sex before. So when can we kiss? I said, what are you kissing her for? You preserve your mouth for your spouse. We didn't come to war to be kissing. And it's like, what if when I go on a prom date, so I can't kiss my prom? I'm like, these are real conversations. So with what you're doing with them, when someone challenges them, they know what to expect. So divorces can, and I've said all things being equal because I don't know the case by case, but I can say for a fact that we can reduce the rate of divorce if we build intentional family systems. So that people, Diane was saying something about attachment style. It's the attachment style we build in our homes that help us to form social skills. And so people are saying we have irreconcilable differences. What is irreconcilable differences? Is the fact that I cannot accept the humanity in you, and I cannot come to a sacrifice and compromise with you. That is what irreconcilable differences are. But you've been taught social skills. You've been taught that every human being has a voice and needs to speak out their voice. You won't shut down the person that will make the woman feel, I can't do this anymore. So family systems is a veritable tool to divorcing. Secondly, education and the use of the right tools for even people who are working with marriages can reduce the divorce rates. That's why I am advocating that people that are working with families, with children, anybody, you want to look at your screen, you want to sign up for FSC so that you can get tested tools and even belong to a community. I mean, those of us here are FSC practitioners. You've had instances where you're working in a case and you just need to reach out to some other person to say, oh, this is what I'm dealing with. And you have a rich network of people that you can leverage on and get more tools. But if you are just in one isolated place doing one thing and you are not belonging to a community, you might end up even causing more harm. And I would say this with no apology, that some people who have worked with marriages have actually led the couples to divorce and to separate because you did not help them rightly, and so they didn't see any hope or any future in continuing. And this is my last word, and this happened during the COVID. And even prior to COVID, I had worked with a couple that, as a person, as Dim Manwobi, if they had asked me, what do you want us to do? Because I know that my work, I'm not to tell them what to do. I help them to see perspective and coach them. But in my heart, I was already saying, this woman should leave this marriage. Like, it was that toxic. She was drained. But then she hung on and decided to, you know what, I'm going to give it my best. She wanted to be at that point where she can tell herself, I put in the work, so she doesn't feel guilt or whatever. And even though initially the husband was not part of the process, she kept on. My heart was going out for her. She became a prayer point for me. Today, I'm not saying that their marriage is 100%, but I can tell you of a truth that they are way, 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 way better than where they were, because somebody decided to stand in the gap and do the work, and because she had a support that was helping her with evidence-based tools. So our families is the learning lab. Our families is where relational skills start, and the work we do ourselves as parents and as couples and then as practitioners can help reduce the divorce rate in Nigeria and Africa.
Thank you all so much. This has been really, 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 I have all kinds of notes written down, so there's no point even, going through all of them one after the other because I'm a writer. And so resilience is the ability to struggle well. Be careful what you create, what meanings you give to things, because nothing means anything except the meaning you give to it. Stop, breathe, take stock, be open to learning. Have a coach in every area of your life. Play. Soak yourself inside water. Bath. Have fun. Dance. Have dancing competitions. Dima, you have to send me some videos of some of the dancing competitions you guys do. Paint. Do some artwork. If you can't talk, paint. You don't even have to be a professional. Just get color, get paper, paint. Paint your heart's desire. Create fun memories for yourself. Create fun memories for your children. Relax. Don't be too hard on yourself, because as hard as you are to yourself, that's how hard you're going to be to other people. You can only give what you have. And I have this best saying, hurt people hurt people. So if you do not heal, you will hurt people, because that's all you have to give. So please, guys, thank you, Patricia, for today. Thank you, Dima. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Dio, and thank you, Zuriel. You have been phenomenal. Dima, I'm going to call you back now to handle the investiture. We have some people backstage who are ready to receive you. So I'm handing over to you right now. Thank you all for also being patient and being here and participating in our conference today. Thank you. Dima, please take it over.
Thank you, Adiola. Thank you, Dayo, Zuriel, Mama B. Thank you so much for being here and for lending your voice and your expertise to the conversation. So I'm seeing all of us, and for me, first of all, this conference is so exciting for me, not just because of the topics that we're discussing, but seeing our own practitioners share their learnings. And for me, it's not just the learnings they got in FSC, but the fact that they continued to be on the quest of more knowledge. So I know that even after FSC, you've continued to develop yourself, you've continued to sink yourself even deeper. And so I want to appreciate you and recognize all of your meaningful contributions to the Institute. So I'm excited today because we are going to be elevating some people from the status of the associate practitioner to a certified practitioner. But I just want to give a little background so that those watching us can understand what we're doing. So the Institute of Family Engineering and Development, one of our flagship courses is the Family Systems Engineering Certification course. And this is a course where we go into everything about how a person is engineered, but more importantly, the tools. Yes, I would want PF to join if it's available here right now. But if it's not, we can go ahead. All right. So what was I saying? That at the Institute, we do this family systems engineering course to raise competent practitioners for Africa. And we have trained over 500 people, and they are all over the globe in different countries doing amazing work and transforming lives through effective family systems. One thing about the Institute, if you know Praise Fowowe, who is the founder, you will know that Praise is someone who is given to excellence. And for us at the Institute, we said to ourselves, how are we going to know that a person has mastered the tools that they have learned in class? Because we don't want to be giving out certification when you just do classwork. We want to be sure, because remember what I said earlier, that the professionalism of the person out there that is working as a marriage coach, that is working as a parenting coach, the skills you have is very important. So for that, when you attend the training, for as many of us that are aspiring to attend the training, you will, after your classroom work and you've done all of your home plays and assessments, we will award you an associate practitioner of family systems engineering. Then you go into the field, you want to go and test the tools, you want to go and, master the approach and come in with results. And after you have met the conditions for certification, which is 100 hours practicum, you will meet the defense team, and then you will demonstrate your mastery. And if you satisfy all of those conditions, you will now become a certified practitioner of family systems engineering. And that is what we're about to do today. And there is one amazing woman who has demonstrated resilience, taking the training and missed work, taking the training and having to work with an online guide in another time zone, but she kept showing up. And today, she's one of the people that will be decorated. We have 3 practitioners, so I will mention their name before I call her up. 3 people who have certified the conditions and are today hereby elevated to certified practitioners of family systems engineering. And those 3 people are, number 1, Ijoma Uba Njoku, who is right here with us, joining us from the United States of America. Because I tell you, our practitioners are everywhere. We're not doing local thing, we are global. The tools are universal, and people are all over the place using our tools and giving amazing transformative work. So Ijoma is today decorated. The other person is Damilola Ajani. She cannot join us today. And then we have Fumilola Adeoye. So 3 of them are today decorated as certified practitioner. So I'm just going to pause. I will invite Ijoma. Ijoma, I just want you in 2 minutes, tell us what was life like for you before FSC, and what is life like for you now after FSC? Over to you, Ijoma. You're muted.
Can see a whole lot of difference. Before I joined the family system engineering course, I was actually a parenting coach, and then I decided to do this course. I was looking for certification and decided to do this course. Now I can see a whole is different. I mean, it's the training I had and what I was doing before is totally different, and my work has changed tremendously. I'm able to help a lot of families. I'm able to help a lot of people. I mean, constructively. And it's not just a guesswork. It's not just something out of the air or whatever. But it is strategic. People are getting. I go to conferences. I meet people and they were like, wow, wow, wow. I mean, things changed. I was able to help people practically and they are achieving a lot of results. To this, I'm very, very grateful. I'm happy I took the whole course. I was thinking that, oh, this is not what I was looking for. I want to just be a certified parent coach. Why am I doing this? And I remember PF telling me, testing me. I said, look, you have to go through this for you to be a very good parenting coach. Now I'm not just a parenting coach, I'm a family therapist and practice family system engineering, and it's awesome, really, really awesome. Thank you so much for that course.
Ijoma, we're excited to have you here. So before you recite the creed, just as a reminder of the work you have chosen to do, PF, would you want to say something, or after she recites the creed? You're muted, PF. Okay, whilst we...
Okay, I think I've done that. Okay, I have to appreciate Ijoma for putting in the work. I think we started off fighting a lot. We started off fighting, at some points wanted to pull out, and I kept saying to myself, wow, this must be one of our most difficult students. When they told me that Ijoma passed our exit interview, I was surprised. I was shocked because, if there was someone that you would think maybe would not likely finish this course, it was Ijoma, but she just switched and she went to another extreme, put in the work, and that's a testament to the fact that once there's a will, there's a way. I know how busy, her life is, and I know how much, how vast she is, how well read she is. One thing we said to ourselves from the beginning, Dima and I, is the fact that we're not going to offer any course that cannot pass the test of universality, the fact that everybody around the world should be able to use this, and that it will be data driven. And we're glad that the reports we're getting, the results we're getting. I'm super proud that we can produce something out of Africa that is being used across the globe right now. So thank you very much, Ijoma, for believing. Congratulations for everything you have been through. We'll work right now. And the fact that even the parenting thing, you've gone ahead and do it. Thank you very much. And if you're listening to us, this is the right place to be. The more practitioners we have, the more we can heal Africa. And so we expect to see you in class. Thank you very much, Ijoma, for believing. Congratulations once again. Dima, over to you.
Thank you, PF. And Ijoma, you will take the creed, and after the creed, that means if we were physically together with you, we would have put what's that thing they hang on people's neck and then giving you your certificate, but it will be mailed to you. You will get a new certificate as a practitioner. But then I want you to repeat the creed with me. So this is the Family Systems Engineering Creed. So when I say I in the first one, you want to put your name. So I, Ijoma Ubanjoku. Then, so do you have a copy there?
Yes.
Okay, so I will not repeat for you to repeat. I want it to be your thing. I want it to be solemn, and I want you to say it yourself without me saying it to you, so that you can own it and really make it your creed. So go ahead and recite the Family Systems Engineering Creed.
I, Ijoma, commit today to fulfill to the best of my ability and judgment this creed, to preserve the dignity of humanity always in the discharge of my professional duties, I will respect the professional ethics as all the family system engineering ideology of Ubuntu in providing assistance to humanity. I will place the preservation of human life and peace above every other thing in the discharge of my duties. I will remember the compassion. I remember that compassion, understanding, and love far outweigh every professional tool. I will not be ashamed to say, I know not, nor will I fail to refer my clients to my colleagues when another professional is needed for a client's recovery. I will see my clients as man-made in God's image, and not a religion, gender, tribe, their problem, or anything outside of their humanity. I will be silent when it is time to be silent, protecting the sacred oath of confidentiality. I will take care of myself and ensure I am in the right frame of mind to be able to help my clients. I will contribute my quota in bringing healing to my world without violating the laws of the country I practice. I will give my best at all times and promote the peace of my world. So help me God.
Congratulations, Ijoma. You are officially a certified practitioner of family systems engineering. So congratulations. Well done. The world is waiting for you. Africa is waiting for you. Humanity is waiting for you. And remember, like we say, Ubuntu, I am because you are. So all of the tools, all of the experiences that you've gathered from class, from your practical, and from everything, go and bless humanity with it. And may it be well with you, with your family, and with everyone you come across with. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Dima, thank you very much for that. And congratulations on being a certified family life practitioner. I'm laughing because I did this course too. I've not reached where you are yet, but I'm coming. You have inspired me. I'm right behind you, my sister. Congratulations and good job. Good job. So thank you everybody for being here. And we're honored and we don't take it for granted. 2.5 hours have gone by so fast and we've learned a lot from the morning session to the evening session. Thank you, Patricia Omorpuy. Thank you, Dima. Thank you, Dio. Thank you, Zuriel. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Praise. I'm not sure that any of us would be here if Praise didn't start this. And so I think I would like to really appreciate and give honor to whom honor is due. And that's to Praise Fowowe, my Idobon partner, my friend, my leader, my brother, you know, and my inner caucus friend, you know. I don't know if I'll be here, you know, really without you. So I really honor and appreciate you. Thank you. Please do not forget, take action. 1%, just 1%. From all the things that we've talked about: inner work, meditation, journaling, creating fun, having your own space, self-work. Put something, start something tomorrow. Tell yourself you can do it. And even when you're afraid, for me, fear doesn't really exist. It's only in our mind. It's like things that you have created that appear real, you know, but they're not there. They're in our subconscious. So do it scared, do it afraid, but do it anyway, guys. That's it. Do it scared, do it afraid, but do it anyways. I'm going to bring on Praise to give a vote of thanks and round off this seminar for this year on to the next one. Thank you all very much. Once again, my name is Adiola Kingsley James, and I honor you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We started at 11 o'clock, and now We've done the first and the second session. Finally, the 5th edition of the African Family Life Delegate Conference is over. We want to appreciate all our speakers from everywhere they've joined us from. We want to thank everyone, every participant. I want to thank all my distinguished colleagues who have worked round the clock to make this successful. All the coaches who worked with practitioners in the midst of COVID, the pandemic, the one-on-one coaches, you put in the shift. I want to appreciate my wife. She puts in a lot of work at the back end. Tosin, thank you. Thank Dima, who is the head of the Institute, brainstorming with you all the time, ensuring that the Institute attains the standard we want. Trust me, guys, we're not yet there. We have said that we'll be the Harvard of family life. That's where we want to go. And we're not relenting. We're launching new courses, new programs, all kinds of things happening in the Institute. I want to thank all the staff of the Institute, especially the enigmatic Emmanuel. All right. That guy does a lot of things, for the Institute behind the scene. And everyone in the office who works around the clock, thank you very much. I want to believe many of us have been hearing, oh, leave Nigeria. I'm not going to say don't leave. However, if we don't solve the problem, we'll come back to meet it. We all have to contribute our quota. Nigeria that is bad is as a result of what we've made out of it. We cannot point accusing finger and say the leaders, and we exonerate ourselves. How are you running your family? What kind of leader are you? The election we hold every 4 years. Will your children retain you as father and mother? Will your spouses retain you? Will you even retain yourself? Can you say you have created the ideal environment where the potential of everyone in your family can find expression? Right? If you have not done that, then maybe you're as guilty as President Buhari or whatever leader or whatever governor you want to talk about. So let's all mind our home. That's the only place where you have control over. At least they didn't vote you in there, but you have been voted in unofficially. What will you make out of your family? Africa needs to go back to systems intelligence. We now need to create templates and models that can produce a predetermined result, when our children grow. We can create the next president out of our family. We can produce the next governors from our family. We can produce the next generation of husbands and wives. It's in us. We can make it happen. So let's go home. The conference is going to be online. Let's think through it and let's take action. We have given ourselves mandates, those in America, those in Africa, those in the UK. We've given tasks. We're going to come back to you next year and tell you how far we've gone. We don't believe in talk. It's about action. And trust me, we all have to heal our world together. I am super proud of all of you. Thank you so much for believing. I'll see you next year, God's willing. And then it will be bigger, louder, greater, with amazing results. Ubuntu, I am because you are. There is no me without you. Whatever I do against you, I do against myself. That must be our ideology. And that's the key to healing our world. I love you. Bye-bye.
The ratio of medical doctors to patients in Nigeria is 4 to 10,000. But what is the ratio of family life professionals to families across Africa when many of the health issues people have are family crisis induced? The Institute of Family Engineering and Development is the premier institution for grooming the most effective family life professionals across the continent of Africa. In 4 years, we have trained 1,200 family life professionals who now practice across Africa, North America, and the United Kingdom. Our certification programs enables you accurately diagnose complex family life cases within 15 minutes using data-driven templates and create interventions that combine coaching plus therapy and strategy to assist your clients. For the best certification programs on family life, parenting, and effective children church system, kindly contact us at ekabo@ifedacademy.com or call 0706 809 9845. The Institute of Family Engineering and Development, grooming the most effective family life professional humanity deserves. It's no longer news that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys experience child sexual abuse before age 18. And the age of sexual initiation and exposure to pornography has dropped to 7. Sex predators are not strangers. They are family members, neighbors, friends, people close enough to take advantage of the innocence and unawareness of a child. But help is here. The Child Power Project, featuring the Super Kids Guide by the Center for Sex Education and Family Life, has proven that empowering children with the right information and actions can help them recognize and kick out sex predators. In 2 years, more than 2,000 children in Nigeria and Cameroon have been empowered against sexual abuse. Our vision is to bring knowledge and intervention to 2 million children across Africa. With 2,500 naira and $7. You can make a world of difference. Join us today as we create a secured future in Africa. Kindly contact us at info@familycenter.org.ng or call 0803-932-4145. Together, we can build a child sexual abuse-free Africa.
Do you know what your child user's manual is? Okay, your child user's manual is a document that actually shows you on a sheet of paper everything about your child and how to get the best out of the child. It's the new rule of parenting, and it's called scripting. The old rule responds to your emotion. The new rule responds to system, because the enemies are no longer just human beings. The enemies are now systems. What will sabotage your parenting are no longer people you can see. They are systems that you can't see, that by yourself you bring into your home. Don't you want to know those systems? Don't you want to know how to raise children without yelling, without screaming, with a blissful disposition? Do you want to know how to collaborate with your children to help them become the best version of themselves? Then come to class with me for the next 1 month as we engage the new rules of parenting. The 18th century rule will no longer work in this new era, because you're now dealing with Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Click on the link below. I have worked with over 1,000 parents, and they have amazing testimonies. So if there's someone who deserves to be talking to you and showing you step-by-step process of how to get it done, it is Praise Forward. I look forward to welcoming you to class. Click on the link below and let's transform and script the future of our world.
The ratio of medical doctors to patients in Nigeria is 4 to 10,000. But what is the ratio of family life professionals to families across Africa, when many of the health issues people have are family crisis induced? The Institute of Family Engineering and Development is the premier institution for grooming the most effective family life professionals across the continent of Africa. In 4 years, we have trained 1,200 family life professionals who now practice across Africa, North America, and the United Kingdom. Our certification programs enables you accurately diagnose complex family life cases within 15 minutes using data-driven templates and create interventions that combine coaching plus therapy and strategy to assist your clients. For the best certification programs on family life, parenting, and effective children church system, kindly contact us at ekabo@ifedacademy.com or call 0706 809 9845. The Institute of Family Engineering and Development, grooming the most effective family life professional humanity deserves. The ratio of medical doctors to patients in Nigeria is 4 to 10,000. But what is the ratio of family life professionals to families across Africa when many of the health issues people have are family crisis induced? The Institute of Family Engineering and Development is the premier institution for grooming the most effective family life professionals across the continent of Africa. In 4 years, we have trained 1,200 family life professionals who now practice across Africa, North America, and the United Kingdom. Our certification programs enables you accurately diagnose complex family life cases within 15 minutes using data-driven templates and create interventions that combine coaching plus therapy and strategy to assist your clients. For the best certification programs on family life, parenting, and effective children church system, kindly contact us at ekabo@ifedacademy.com or call 0706 809 9845. The Institute of Family Engineering and Development, grooming the most effective family life professional humanity deserves.